Welcome to the Belonging Project podcast. This is Fiorenza and I'm your host. The purpose of this podcast is to bring voices together to talk about belonging. Through inspiring, real-life conversations, we explore how belonging can show up in so many different ways, what it feels like to belong, and the impact of truly belonging. Each episode will offer you inspiration and practical strategies to find your true voice in your life and as a leader. Let's dive in. Hi! Today I'm with Serena and I'm super excited to be having this conversation. Hi, Serena.
Hi, Fiorenza.
Welcome to the Belonging Project podcast. So, perhaps we can start a little bit by telling us, where are you based?
So I'm based in Italy. I'm based in Milan. It's really a sunny day. It's so beautiful here. And thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
Yeah, of course. I'm very excited about kind of diving more onto belonging with you and just on whatever other topics our conversation is gonna bring us on. And I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about what you do and perhaps a bit about your journey as well.
So it's a long story, but to summarize the story, I'm an HR learning and development professional, and I'm also a career coach. My journey it's been really interesting from my own perspective because I was in a really strong trajectory for my career according to society standards, and then something happened that is accident at work, and I out of the blue had to spend a lot of days in the hospitals having multiple surgeries and these kind of things. And when I came back to work, I was no longer the same person and I was not perceived as the same professional. So I had a big identity crisis, as you can imagine. And it took me several years to understand that the core of this identity crisis was not so much about the identity, but it was actually about belonging, because I built my career for a long time to the sense of engagement and belonging to my company. And after my accident at work, I was not longer part of that environment. I didn't belong anymore to that environment. And it was so difficult for me to realize that and to accept that. And it took me many years. And then I decided to change career, change company. And based on that, I realized that it's so important for me, for my personal healing journey, to belong to one place and to see that I have a reason to be there. So I started to do two things. The first one is to start a podcast that is called I'm Back, that is around coming back to work after a life-changing experience and having conversation about that. And the second thing is trying to find work environment where I can really belong. So purpose driven with a really great work environment where I can have, yes, challenges, but also a strong sense of belonging. And this really changed my way of perceiving career and growth and success. Yeah, it was really quite a journey. So it's been 7 years since my accident, and I can say that I'm still in the journey.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing this with us. Really appreciate it. It must have been quite tough, challenging. I don't think I have enough words, but to go through, the accident that you went through, and then coming back to a place where perhaps the people, perhaps the environment is not feeling so inclusive anymore. If you don't mind, I'm curious if it was the culture that wasn't inclusive or the people. What would you say?
So it's a really interesting question because I was wondering that myself. And I realized that it's so difficult for work environment to talk about hidden disabilities or hidden pains or something that it's not so visible from the outside. So I had my accident at work. I was off for a lot of months for surgeries, for dealing with pain, recovery, and these kind of things. But when I came back to work, it was not visible because from the outside, I seemed the same person. And it was so difficult for the work culture and for my manager that has changed in between my accident to see that I was saying. So it was a really strange mix because it was hard for him to understand that I was not overreacting or asking things that were not linked to reality because my disability, because I came out with a disability, was not visible for him. And as you probably know, chronic pain is often not visible because we cannot say every day, I'm dealing with a high level of pain right now. But dealing with chronic pain means also that uh, at a center point, you are breaking because it's like piling up the pain and it's too much. And at the same time, so he was not able to understand that I was really in pain, really having health issues because it was not visible. But at the same time, he knew that I was a disabled person. So he perceived like we cannot count on her anymore because she is a disabled. So it was a strange mix between his perception of what is a disability and the biases linked to that, and the fact that he was not able to see my challenges. And of course, I have to say it was also me because I was an higher performance before my accident, so I wanted to go back to that, but I was not able to perform in the same way because I was not longer the same person. I needed to deal with chronic pain. I needed to deal with a lot of psychological challenges. So it was really hard for me and for him to find a common ground that for me is the belonging aspect, actually, because he was thinking, okay, Serena is not longer belonging here. And I was feeling, oh, I don't belong here anymore because they don't treat me as before.
Yeah, yeah. And just to clarify, he is, so when you say he, that's your boss, that's your
Yes,
boss at the time. Yeah.
yes.
And it almost sounds like your boss had kind of summarized you to what had happened, or
So I can give you a practical example, a real example. I was waiting for another surgery that was the third one in 3 years. And it was so hard for me to go to my manager at the time and say, I need to go take the time off because I need to go under another surgery and then I don't know when I will be back. because the recovery is not sure. So what I did was to postpone the surgery as much as possible. That, of course, it was not. It was a big mistake for my health and for me. Till we arrived to a breaking point for me where I had to say I need to go to do this surgery. But because I was trying so hard to perform well, to be always there, to not complain, to not create issues, it was like a big surprise for my manager, for him, because he said, why you need to go to do another surgery to take time off when you are working fine? Even if for me it was like working longer hours, and postponing my surgery, postponing my doctor appointments, and these kind of things. And I can see now that it was a big mistake on my side, but at the same time I see that I didn't feel the psychological safety or the safe environment to really being able to discuss these kind of things, because my manager, that of course I have to say it was a new manager coming after my injury, so he didn't knew me before, was evaluating my performance from what he was able to see, and not from what I was not able to say to him.
Yeah. How did that feel when you had this person, this individual, making assumptions about how you were feeling, whereas, well, actually, they didn't really know you so well?
It was really, really painful for me. It was like being invisible. It was like don't being part of the team, not being valuable for the team, not being seen, recognized, or heard. And it was so painful for me, actually, that I remember really clearly that I was coming out back to work every day, crying for this instead of crying for my pain or for my health issues. And it became so strong, this feeling, that I was not able, I was afraid to say anything to my boss. And again, I made a lot of mistakes in this, because now, after 7 years, I can see more clearly that communication, sharing, being vulnerable, it's almost the only way to really belong or to really be accepted. And even if sometimes you need to accept that even if you are doing all these kind of things, you are not going to be accepted. But I was so afraid of doing these kind of things that I can see clearly now why he was so judgmental towards me. Because if you don't see the disability, if you don't see the pain, if you see a person that is struggling, what are you going to think? That the performance is low, that the performance is not going well, and belonging and create a great sense of belonging, engagement, inclusion. It's a big effort for a lot of organization and for a lot of manager, because there is this strong focus on performance,
Yeah.
on success or KPIs and this kind of thing. So how can I say to my manager, I'm not able to deliver my KPI at the end of the year, because at the end of the year I need to go to do another surgery and I will be off for this amount of time, and I'm dealing with chronic pain, and I'm dealing with a psychological journey of healing. So it's like going in circles without having a way out. And my way out was to change the environment and change the manager. But again, I had the same issue with the next company because I needed to go under another surgery. So I had 4 surgeries in 4 years. So it was really tough mentally and physically. And I was so scared, even with the new manager, that again, I was struggling a lot to be open and transparent with him, even if he was really open and transparent with me about that, and he was really great about that. So it's like we are, if we are not taking care about psychological safety, the sense of belonging, the sense of open communication and transparency, this has an impact on the person, even if the person is going to leave the company.
It's really bringing up the topic of invisible disability, right? When you have something that is not kind of there in front of your eyes, if you can't see it, if you can't hear it, then what is the assumption? Is the assumption that the person you have in front of you has the same abilities as you, and that does sound like a strong bias, right? Um, to be honest, I'm probably, I've had so many situations where I've had this assumption as well. I would love to know, how do you handle this now when you meet someone new, you have no idea about that person background journey. How do you navigate it? How do you handle it?
It's a great question because it's always a challenge. Because again, you need to find the right balance between being curious and open to the other person experience, but also being mindful of what is happening to potentially happening to the new person, or if you can ask some question or not. And again, if I can share a real example, I was a recruiter 3 years ago, and I did this final stage of interview with the CEO of the company. That was a male CEO. And when the candidate shared that she was pregnant, the male CEO had a big reaction, asking for question like, how are you going to handle this? And so from an external point of view, it could sound like really judgmental, really not happy about the pregnancy and these kind of things. But in reality, I was there and I knew that he was so excited because he just knew about the pregnancy of his wife. So it was a reaction based on something that he was really, really curious about,
Hmm.
because he was concerned about his wife, because it was something new for him. But as you can imagine, the interview went really in a bad way. The candidate was not happy because this kind of information was missing.
Hmm.
And so this made me realize that when we are dealing with another person, there is this balance in between curiosity and respect and boundaries that we need to find. And if we are not able to share the why we are asking some question or why we are curious, it could be really perceived as a bias. And it happened also recently because I was also born with a disability, and met one person that uh, shared with me that she had a daughter with the same disability. But it was hard for me to ask more because I felt that maybe I was overcrossing boundaries. But I was so curious and I was so happy to know that. And but I was not able to share this.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm still struggling. And talking about belonging with invisible disability, how can you feel that you belong to a group that is not visible even for you? So I realized, maybe after years of working with people, that they were having a similar journey than me, but it was not visible, it was not shared.
It completely depends how things are being brought up, and everyone has, of course, their own journey. So in terms of sharing as well, are we ready to share? Are we not ready to share? How much we want to share? With whom we want to share? Um, there's a series of questions there. What do you need to feel that you belong?
For me, belonging is linked to a sense of safety and a sense of trust. But I can understand that it's not the same for everyone. Everyone has a different way to translate belonging. And so I'm always curious to see in the work environments how much the companies are brave enough to really talk about belonging in a deeper level, knowing that talking about what means to belong to the company may help some people to go away, to take a step away from the company. And at the same time, I can understand that belonging is such a fluffy word, or it's perceived like this, because it's not something that you can easily um, measure or have concrete things to connect with. But at the same time, it's so strong, you can feel it when you it's there. So it's again something really strange to tackle, and something really fragile also, especially in the work environment. Because, for example, if I say that my sense of belonging is attached to the sense of safety and trust, if I feel that the trust is no longer there, even if it's not true, maybe I can see that the sense of belonging is not longer there.
And what do you need to feel safe and to trust?
For me personally, the possibility to be seen, heard, and valued. Being seen with my contribution, with what I'm doing, with the effort that I'm doing. Be heard with my suggestions, my ideas, and be valued, meaning that the company or the manager can see that what I'm bringing can contribute to something or make sense. And it's something that is also deeply rooted in me, meaning that I'm also in this healing process that I'm doing, working on my sense of seeing myself, hearing myself, and valuing myself.
So your setup has changed in terms of how you work. Um, how are things for you now? Is your professional life bringing a sense of belonging, or is that contributing rather to your sense of belonging?
So I want to say two things. The first one is that I was lucky enough to find a company where I can share a deep sense of belonging, not only with the team, but with the mission. And I'm seeing that a lot of people right now are looking for this. So if they have a bigger career opportunity and bigger money, or a company with a bigger sense of purpose or belonging, maybe they are going to choose the belonging or the purpose driven company. Of course, it's not for everyone, but I can see a shift in the past few years. And the other thing is more personal. So my partner is Japanese, and of course, uh, their sense of belonging is really different from the Italian version of belonging, and this helped me, strangely enough, to understand that I needed to do a lot of work on belonging, and that I can be open minded about belonging, about the way we show belonging, feel belonging, uh, etc. And it helped me to understand more that action are more important than verbalizing things. Because, as you probably know, in Italy, we want to say things out loud. In the Japanese culture, they want to do things. And so I'm more able now to see that I don't need anymore the recognition about, like, good job, you are doing well, etc. I can see the recognition through the action, through the messages, and this kind of things.
I'm wondering if there is perhaps something that could even bring your experience of belonging to another level, or bring in another dimension into it at this point in time, or perhaps not, just kind of curious.
So, since my journey of coming back to work, I realized that it was not so much coming back to work, but was about coming back home. But what it means home,
Hmm.
it was like coming back to myself, coming back to where I belong, coming back to what is important for me. So I really see that another layer of belonging is accepting that even if you do not belong now, it doesn't mean that you are not in the journey of belonging. And every single step is meaningful and can bring you to somewhere, and also in places that you were not expecting. And what it means belonging is really a key question right now for me, because it's interconnected to the question, where is my home? And I don't know the answer yet, to be honest, but I'm looking for the, the answer.
How will you know that you'll have found the answer?
Maybe I will never find the answer. Maybe I have already the answer. It's just that I'm in this transformation journey where the answer can change every month, every year. And the question for me is, do I belong to myself? Meaning, do I see that I'm happy within myself, that I can be comfortable in myself, that I can value myself? And I don't have the answer to this yet. It's so hard sometimes to see yourself fully, especially when you have maybe society standards or other standards embedded in you, and you can see the difference between your story and what you imagine is the right story to have, even if we know that there is no right or wrong story.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. What would be the advice you'd like to give to someone who is maybe earlier on the journey, someone who maybe has just kind of been back to work after they've after an accident, or maybe they have an invisible disability, but it's rather new? What advice would you have for them?
I was feeling really alone and lost, and it took me some years to realize that I was not alone, because a lot of people were experiencing similar things.
Hmm.
And I was not lost because I was in a journey and I was taking steps towards something that, even if I didn't know the direction, I didn't know the the destination, I wish I was able to value more the journey itself instead of beating myself up. So the best advice that I can give is, even if you don't feel that you belong, or even if you are feeling alone, even if you are feeling lost, maybe you are not lost, you are not alone, and you belong somewhere. And again, maybe you can just belong to yourself, or and it's not only enough, it's more than enough. And look around you, because there are other people that are facing the same question, the same challenges, but we don't talk about these kind of things.
Do you wish
It's
that it would be talked about more?
yeah, because I had in the same room, in the same office, a person that was coming back to maternity, for example, and we were not able to talk about what meant to coming back after a life-changing experience. And we spent so many months wondering of these kind of things by ourselves, instead of talking together and chatting and sharing. And right now I'm speaking with a lot of people. I'm always surprised about the fact that a lot of people, for different reasons, yes, but a lot of people are dealing with similar challenges, but somehow we have some walls or barriers that are really hard to break and to go beyond.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Are there any resources that you felt supported you early on the journey, or even now?
Mm. So it's maybe funny to say, but I'm really into poetry, and I was reading a lot of poems when I was at the hospital. And I was not able to realize then that those poems helped me to go through things and helped me to, in an unconscious way, elaborate what was happening to me. So it's not properly a suggestion of resources, but it's more a suggestion on the things that you love, that you are drawn to, are going to help you through the journey. So even if it's, I don't know, video games, sports, other stuff, maybe you can start to be more aware about why those things are important for you right now. Because for me, it was really hard to understand why, when I was at the hospital, I wanted to read poetry. It didn't make sense for me at the time. I can understand now that some poems were so important for me to go through things. And it's the same for other things, with no judgment about, oh, you need to read poetry because poetry is fancy. No, you can do really the things that you love, and try to understand why you love them and why these kind of things are so important for your story and for your journey.
Yeah, I really love it. It's also finding what can work out, what can work for you, right?
Yes. And being able also to change. We always talk about self care in the work environment, having a self care routine, but we don't talk enough about the ability to change and adapt your self care routine based on how are you feeling.
For sure. How do you do that? Sure.
So, to be honest, I dance a lot. So, when I'm really struggling, I put some music and I dance. I'm lucky that I'm working from home, so it's a safe environment to do that. No one is judging. But again, it was something that I didn't do for like 20 years. And then during the pandemic, restarted to do, and it was really a game changer for me. But it could be different, really different things. Again, no judgment. It's just also the beauty of exploring new things and see what kind of impact they may have on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's never too late to explore something new, to find something new, right? Yeah. I really want to thank you, Serena, for your time today and for being willing to deep dive with us on your journey. I appreciate the trust that you're putting in this platform, and the vulnerability as well that it may have taken. So thank you. I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Forenza, for having me. It was really a pleasure. And thank you for all that you are doing about belonging, because it's so important and so meaningful. So thank you.
Thank you. That's really kind. All right, before you go, where can people find more about you? How can they connect? I know you have a podcast as well. You've mentioned it. Tell us more and we'll add it to the show notes.
Okay, so my podcast is called I'm Back, and it's about gathering stories about coming back to work after a life changing experience, positive like maternity, relocation, or more negative like illness, grief, and these kind of things. You can find me also on LinkedIn. Looking forward to connect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Serena. You can follow the podcast on LinkedIn at the Belonging Project Podcast. You can also hit subscribe and stay up to date with our episodes. And do feel free to get in touch with me on coaching@fiorenzarosini.com. Thank you again and see you next time.